The moment she stepped onto that polished concrete floor, the snickering began. They taunted the way she limped, chuckled at the way her left hand trembled slightly, and whispered about the pale scar that curled across her cheek like a half-forgotten war story. "Wrong place, lady," one man barked, smirking with the confidence of someone who'd never been challenged. Past the safety line stood rows of metal chairs where a handful of spectators leaned forward, hoping for a show. And from the looks of the woman with the battered duffel bag and scuffed military boots, they were sure they'd get one, just not the kind she was about to give them. She said nothing. Under the flicker of fluorescent lights and the distant scent of spent gunpowder, she stopped at lane 6, her stance quiet but braced, like she was waiting to be hit again. Someone whispered that she probably wouldn't last 5 minutes. Another murmured that she'd be lucky to even hit the paper. Across the shooting range stood the reigning champion, a man named Colton Reeve. He was everything she wasn't. Polished, tall, muscular in that self-conscious way, and surrounded by brand sponsors whose logos were stamped across his tactical vest. His smile was smug and photogenic, and it widened as soon as he spotted her brace. He didn't recognize her. Nobody did. The name she'd signed on the registration form was Lillian Hart. She was 35 years old, a former Marine sniper, decorated but quiet about it. Her limp was from shrapnel taken during a mission in Kandahar. The tremor in her hand? Nerve damage. The scar? A gift from an ambush that took the life of her best friend, Staff Sergeant Reuben Cross. She never flaunted her service. She didn't wear a hat that read veteran. No camo hoodies. No lapel pins. Just worn boots and a fire in her chest she hadn't been able to smother in years. An attendant approached her. "Let's keep this quick," he said dismissively. She gave a nod, stepped forward, and reached into her duffel. The pistol she pulled out wasn't sleek or custom-machined. It was a Glock 17 with scuffs along the slide and the weight of history in its grip. She racked the slide with a click that silenced the room. A few onlookers blinked. Something about the way she handled the gun, the naturalness of it, spoke louder than any uniform ever could. Colton leaned against a wall, arms crossed, smirking like he was watching a child try on their dad's shoes. Then Lillian raised the Glock, aimed, and fired. The round cracked through the air. Dead center. There wasn't even a millimeter of error. She fired again. Same spot. The room went still. Even those who'd been chuckling now stared, mouths slightly agape. Phones came out. People began recording. A hush rippled through the space like a wave receding. Whispers swirled. Is she ex-military? She must have trained for years. She ejected the magazine and stepped back. The limp was noticeable now, but so was the expression on the official's face, respect. Colton's jaw tightened as he forced a chuckle. "Not bad for a warm-up," he said, before leaning in and muttering, "Let's see how you do at a real distance." The target was pushed back to 30 yards. Lillian didn't flinch. She loaded a fresh magazine, adjusted her stance, and fired. One hole. Dead center again. This time, there was applause. Not from everyone, but enough to be noticed. Colton's smirk twisted, and his voice rang out. "Okay, enough with the pistols. Let's make this fun." He marched off and returned with a custom AR-15, shining under the lights like a showpiece. All eyes turned to Lillian. She reached into her bag again and pulled out an old M4 carbine. Standard issue. Scratched. Trusted. There was a reverence in the way she handled it. Colton set a target at 100 yards. She kneeled painfully, but did it anyway. She fired. The bullet kissed the tin ring, barely a hair above the bullseye. The audience erupted again. Colton followed, spraying rounds quickly. His grouping was tight, but not perfect. They were neck and neck. Whispers turned to conversations. Who was this woman? Let's make it official, Colton said, sensing the attention slipping away. A full course. Pistols. Rifles. Shotguns. Timed events. Let's see what you've really got. Lillian didn't hesitate. Name the time. The next day, word spread like wildfire. A local blogger tweeted about the mysterious woman who'd stunned a champion. By the time Lillian arrived, the parking lot was full. Inside, stations were set. Pistol. Shotgun. Mid-range rifles. A final long-range precision test. Colton strutted in like a politician. Cameras followed him. He gave interviews. Flashed his sponsor patches. Lillian arrived quietly. Same boots. Same bag. She was met with curious eyes now, not mocking ones. They began at 15 yards with pistols. Both scored nearly identical hits. Then came the .45 caliber. Colton was faster, but Lillian was more precise, edging him out by a point. Then the shotgun station. Clays launched high. Colton was fluid and flawless. Lillian faltered on one shot, barely nicking it. He pulled ahead. But then came mid-range rifles. Lillian's Marine training kicked in. She moved from cover to cover, loading under pressure, breathing like a machine. Her transitions were tight. Her groupings tighter. They were even again. The steel plate station followed. Colton rushed. Missed a moving plate. Lillian calculated. Each round landed with a clang. She pulled ahead. Now came the obstacle course. Crawling. Kneeling. Shooting at 150 yards. Halfway through, her leg locked. She stumbled. Gasps. Cameras zoomed in. Colton blazed ahead, hitting his targets. Lillian forced her body up. Shot 3 rounds. All near bullseye. They were tied. One final challenge. The 400-yard bench rest. 5 shots each. Best grouping wins. Colton went first. His shots clustered well, but not perfectly. The crowd applauded. Then Lillian stepped forward. She noticed the scope was slightly off. Had someone tampered with it? No time to argue. She adjusted mentally and fired. Once. Twice. A pause. 3. 4. 5. The target reeled back. Gasps echoed. Her grouping was impossibly tight. Nearly one ragged hole. The scoreboard flashed. She won. By 3 points. Colton tried to protest. Then someone played the security footage. It showed his assistant near the scopes earlier that morning. The crowd turned. Sponsors pulled out. He slinked away, his legend shattered. Lillian stood by the wall, breathing hard. A reporter approached. How do you feel about your victory? She stared at the target. I didn't shoot to beat him. I shot to keep a promise. The story went viral. But Lillian didn't chase interviews. Instead, she returned to a small veterans range just outside of town. She started teaching. Not for pay. For peace. She helped others like her, those with scars on the inside and out, relearn discipline, control, and self-trust. Soon the range ran free sessions for wounded veterans. Lillian taught every week. Word spread. People called her a hero. She just called herself a survivor. One morning, a young vet, hands trembling, whispered, I thought I'd never shoot again. She smiled. You're not broken. Just healing. She never bragged about beating Colton Reeve. But his name became a cautionary tale. Never mock what you don't understand. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Lillian Hart became a name known across veteran communities, firearm forums, and beyond. She never claimed a title. But every time she helped someone steady their breath and pull that trigger with confidence, it felt like the truest kind of victory. Years from that first humiliating day, she walked the same floor again. The limp was still there. So was the plaque on the wall. To those who refused to kneel. She touched it once, quietly, then turned back to teach the next class.